The world is sick. Not with a virus you can see, but with a lie. A lie that whispers you are powerless. That your anxiety is your identity. That your depression is your destiny. We are taught to medicate, to accommodate, to surrender. But what if the cure isn't acceptance, but conquest? For centuries, one voice was banned, burned, and buried for speaking a brutal truth about power. Tonight, we resurrect that voice for a modern war. This is not self-help. This is a call to arms. This is Machiavelli for the modern mind. The slammed door echoes, and the silence that follows is a vacuum that the depressive mind rushes to fill with a torrent of self-recrimination. You replay the scream, "You're ruining my life," and the narrative solidifies. You are the villain in your child's story, a clumsy tyrant who has destroyed the relationship through your heavy-handed punishment. This is the lie in its most potent form, attacking your core identity as a protector and guide. Machiavelli would cut through this sentimental fog with the precision of a surgeon. He would observe that the child is not a rational actor in this moment but a force of nature, a sudden storm testing the structural integrity of the palace walls. Your emotional response, the guilt, the doubt, is a luxury a ruler cannot afford. The decision to remove the phone was, presumably, a law enacted for the good of the state, to protect against the dangers of endless scrolling, to enforce sleep, to reclaim a fragment of family time. To revoke that law under the pressure of an emotional outburst is to teach a devastating lesson, that authority is negotiable, that the loudest voice gets its way. The Machiavellian parent understands that the true lesson of this moment is not about screen time, it is about the nature of power. By holding the line, you are not being cruel, you are demonstrating that the foundations of your household are not built on sand, but on principles that can weather any emotional hurricane. The goal is not to be liked in the short term, but to be respected in the long term, because respect is the bedrock upon which real safety and guidance are built. The child may not thank you tonight, but they will internalize the stability you project, a stability that will become their own internal fortress later in life. The holiday table, once a symbol of warmth, is now a frozen battlefield. Your uncle's comment hangs in the air like a poison gas, and you feel the familiar pull of despair, the sense that everything is ruined, that your family is fundamentally broken. This feeling of powerlessness is the depressive lie convincing you that you are merely a spectator to the collapse. Machiavelli would reframe the entire scene. This is not a family dinner, it is a congress of rival factions. Your uncle is the provocative neighboring state, your silent aunt is a neutral party to be wooed, your frustrated parents are key allies. Your role is not to win a debate on politics, a battle that cannot be won, but to re-establish the sovereignty of the gathering itself. The strategic move is not to engage the argument, but to change the very terrain upon which it is fought. A well-timed joke about a universally beloved, nonsensical family memory, or a pointed question to your aunt about her rose bushes, does not ignore the conflict, it masterfully overwhelms it. You are deploying a distraction, a calculated act of misdirection that pulls the conversational focus back to common ground. You are, in that moment, the secret chancellor of the dinner table, using soft power to dismantle a hard threat. You sacrifice the chance to be right in exchange for the far greater prize, the preservation of the kingdom's peace. This is an active, powerful stance that directly counteracts the passive victimhood that depression sells. Sitting in the performance review, as your manager ticks off a list of trivial faults, the depressive narrative begins its sinister whisper campaign. It tells you that these small criticisms are merely the surface symptoms of a deep, rotting inadequacy within you. It insists that your manager sees the truth you've always feared: you are an imposter, and this meeting is the beginning of the end. Machiavelli would listen to the very same words and hear something entirely different. He would hear not truths about his own worth, but invaluable intelligence about the prince he serves. Every nitpicking comment is a clue to the manager's insecurities, their management style, their own pressures from above. The manager who focuses on punctuality or formatting is a ruler who values order and control. The one who criticizes a lack of big ideas is signaling their own ambition. The Machiavellian employee wears a mask of receptive humility, all the while mentally cataloging this data. The follow-up is where the strategy is executed. The email sent afterward is not a defense, it is a weapon of perception management. By thanking the manager for their keen insights and outlining a plan of action that directly mirrors their petty concerns, you are performing the ultimate act of political theater. You are showing that you understand the language of the court and are willing to play by its rules to secure your position. You are transforming criticism from a weapon used against you into a tool you wield to reinforce your own indispensability. Your child's tears over the missed birthday party feel like a physical wound. The depressive impulse is to join them in their heartbreak, to see the world as a cruel place that has rejected your innocent child, and to feel your own parental failure in their pain. This shared despair, while feeling empathetic, is actually a surrender to the lie. Machiavelli would view the social dynamics of the schoolyard with utter coldness. The popular child's party is not a verdict on your child's worth, it is merely the current center of power in a fluid and fickle political landscape. To focus on gaining entry to that court is a sucker's game, based on begging for scraps of validation from an unreliable source. The strategic response is to bypass that power center entirely and create a new one. This isn't about revenge, it's about realpolitik. Orchestrating an event, a trip to a trampoline park, a coveted movie premiere, for your child and 2 or 3 strategically chosen classmates, perhaps those on the periphery of the popular group, is a masterstroke of alliance building. You are not just planning a fun afternoon, you are engineering a shift in the social balance of power. You are teaching your child the most valuable lesson, that influence is not given, it is built. That you can be the architect of your own social reality rather than a beggar at the gate of someone else's. This is a lesson in agency that inoculates against the helplessness that depression thrives on. The lowball offer in the negotiation is designed to provoke an emotional response, and depression is more than happy to provide one, either a crippling sense of worthlessness that makes you want to accept the deal just to feel validated, or a burst of indignant anger that torches the entire process. Both are losing moves. Machiavelli would perceive the lowball offer for what it is, the opening move in a game of power, as formal and unemotional as a chess match. It is a test of your resolve, a probe of your defenses. Reacting with emotion reveals your hand and your weakness. The correct response is a countermove that communicates unshakable confidence in your own value. Calmly withdrawing a previously offered concession, perhaps extending the payment terms or reducing the scope of service, is a language the other side understands perfectly. It says, "You have misjudged my position. Your attempt to weaken me has only strengthened my resolve." This is not about being fair, it is about demonstrating that you hold the superior position. The entire art of the deal, in this view, is the continuous projection of power to shape the other party's perception of reality until they agree to your terms, not out of fairness, but out of a calculated belief that it is the best they can get from a formidable opponent. As a manager watching a petty feud infect your team, the depressive path is one of avoidance. You tell yourself it's just personality clash, that it will blow over, all the while feeling the morale and productivity of your department seep away, reinforcing your sense of being an incompetent leader. Machiavelli would see this timidity as a direct threat to the state. A leader who cannot control internal conflict is a leader who will soon be overthrown by it. His approach would be ruthlessly pragmatic. There would be no touchy-feely mediation session. Instead, he would summon each warring employee separately for a private audience. The message would be clear, direct, and devoid of empathy. The public display of conflict ends immediately. The next instance will result in a formal written warning that will impact your bonus and promotion eligibility. This is the application of fear to maintain order. Furthermore, he might engage in a more complex stratagem. Promoting a third, neutral party could effectively split the feuding duo by introducing a new, more pressing rivalry for influence. This is not about creating a happy team, it is about creating a functional one. By redirecting the toxic energy, he uses the conflict itself as a tool to reassert his own control and ensure the continued output of his domain. The cold silence from your spouse after another late night at the office is a punishment that feels heavier than any argument. The depressive lie weaves a story of irreparable damage, of a fundamental choice between being a success in your career and a failure in your home. It paralyzes you. Machiavelli would analyze this not as an emotional crisis, but as a political one. Your spouse is your most important ally, their discontent is a rebellion in your most vital province. The goal is not to win a fight about who is right or wrong, but to quell the rebellion and secure the alliance on terms that allow your primary campaign, your career, to continue. This requires a strategic appeasement, not an emotional apology. A grand, unexpected gesture, planning and booking a full weekend away without being asked, or single-handedly organizing a complex family event your spouse dreads, is not groveling. It is a calculated investment. It is a display of value and commitment that rebalances the scales. It says, I acknowledge the breach, and I am deploying significant resources to repair it. This restores stability not through negotiation, but through decisive action, allowing you to return to your work with the crucial home front secured. The announcement of layoffs sends a wave of panic through the office. The depressive response is to huddle with colleagues in a state of shared anxiety, feeding the rumor mill and refreshing news sites, each headline deepening the sense of impending doom. This is the behavior of frightened sheep. Machiavelli would instantly disengage from the herd. His loyalty is not to the company, but to his own survival and advancement. He would enter a state of quiet, intense focus. His first move would be to identify the key princes and kingmakers who will decide his fate. He would then ensure his recent accomplishments were meticulously documented and visible to them, perhaps by sending a project update email that subtly highlights his contributions to a key revenue stream. He would analyze his rivals, identifying their weaknesses relative to his strengths. Simultaneously, he would update his resume and discreetly reach out to his network, not as a desperate act, but as the prudent maneuver of a ruler ensuring he has an escape route and alternative alliances should his current kingdom fall. He treats the corporation's cold-blooded survival instinct as a model for his own. Facing an impossible exam, the depressive lie is one of fixed identity. I'm just not a math person. This belief licenses procrastination and surrender. Machiavelli would dismiss the very concept of a math person as sentimental nonsense. The exam is not a test of innate ability, it is a fortress to be taken. He would study the professor's past patterns like a general studying an enemy's battle plans, identifying exactly what topics are favored and what types of questions are asked. He would form a study group not for moral support, but as a tactical alliance, strategically partnering with those who possess the knowledge he lacks, offering his own skills in return. His goal is not to achieve a deep philosophical understanding of the subject, his goal is to conquer the exam. Every practice problem solved, every old test analyzed, is a scaling ladder thrown up against the wall. The victory is not in loving the subject, but in defeating the obstacle that stands between him and his objective. When a colleague steals your idea in a meeting, the depressive reaction is a toxic cocktail of rage and helplessness. You feel violated but fear that speaking up will make you look difficult or petty, so you sit in smoldering silence, your resentment poisoning your own engagement. Machiavelli would never make this mistake. He understands that public accusations are almost always a losing strategy, as they force people to take sides and often make the accuser appear unstable. Instead, he would bide his time, allowing the thief to enjoy their momentary victory. His retaliation would be delayed, precise, and devastatingly polite. In a subsequent email to the entire group, he would thank his colleague for reiterating the core of my proposal, and then proceed to add a few clarifying details that are so specific, so deeply technical, and so integral to the idea's success that it becomes undeniably clear who the true architect was. This move achieves multiple goals. It reclaims ownership without a messy confrontation, it makes the thief look like an uninformed parrot, and it positions Machiavelli as the thoughtful, detail-oriented expert. It is a masterclass in political jiu-jitsu, using the opponent's own move to throw them. The prince is not a title given by blood. It is a position seized by will. Your mind is your kingdom. Depression, anxiety, fear, these are not your rulers. They are the traitors at your gate. Your life, your career, your family, these are your principalities. The question is not how you feel. The question is, what will you do? Will you continue to kneel, or will you finally command? The strategies are here. The choice is yours. But this knowledge is power, and power is worthless if kept to oneself. If this has shown you the battlefield, then your first strategic move is to strengthen this alliance. Subscribe to arm yourself with more of these tactics. Like to signal your allegiance to those who refuse to surrender. And share this declaration of war, because an army of princes is far harder to ignore than a lone voice in the dark. The lie ends when you decide it ends.